Okay, so let's make sure people can hear us. Happy Friday, Friday, July 20th. Hey guys, what's going on? I know that you guys just watched my Freedom Friday show, and I appreciate that. But I'd love for you to give some love and support to Sahar Irwin, who is my guest sitting next to me. We are episode 206 of the TED Show, can't believe it. And she managed to get out on this really bad traffic, rainy day to come all the way down to the Citrus Club and say hi to me. So when you get a chance, give us a thumbs up. I want to make sure there's a connection. The reason that I do that, and I say this, these people are probably tired of hearing it, but I do it because one time I did an entire show and nobody could see it or hear it. Oh. And so I felt so bad for the guests. Luckily they came back on. Marie, thank you very much. All right, we got a thumbs up. So, welcome to the show. So I'm trying to think how we met. It was, oh my God, Glenna. Was it Glenna Morris?
Mutual friend.
Yes, so hey, Tyler. So Glenna, I don't know if you know the story about Glenna and I. Back in the old days, you guys won't believe this, I used to go to a B&I group in Winter Park that met at 7:30, thanks Scott, 7:30 a.m. And Glenna is an engineering guru. She has her own firm. And she joined the Citrus Club after that. And I hadn't seen her forever. And we occasionally, I knew that she was up here, but she came over and she said, I have somebody that you have to meet. I have someone that I would love to be on your show because she's so supportive of the show, which is very kind of you, Glenna. And so she said, Sahar Irwin. I said, okay, whatever you say, Glenna, I trust your judgment. And she's right. I'm very excited. I read your bio. So I want the world to know a little bit about Sahar Irwin. So give them a little bit of your background.
Sure.
Please.
Thanks.
And welcome again.
Thank you, Ted, for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sahar, and what I'm passionate to do in my coaching and speaking business is helping women embrace their femininity, which their femininity is their inner beauty, inner voice, and passion.
So did you start there, though? Tell us a little bit about your beginnings, because your bio is fascinating.
Right.
So you weren't born and then all of a sudden you were embracing femininity.
Absolutely not. Like, if I was 9 years old and somebody would ask me what do you want to do in the future, I would say I want to be a scientist or something.
I love it.
I would never think that I would head into a self-development world. And actually, when I'm originally from Iran and I have a bachelor's degree in math, so I wanted to actually become a scientist of some sort.
What did you want to do? So did you grow up in a family of mathematicians or scientists? Or?
My grandfather was literally genius in math, and my dad was also good in it. And but most of the family were doctors or engineers.
Wow.
And somehow I ended up, being fascinated by science and math. And when I finished my degree there, my intention was to work as a teacher in like high school potentially. But then, everything changed. I couldn't get a job in that country, and then
in Iran.
In Iran, and then again, my intention was like, okay, maybe I move overseas. It was always my dream to live in a Western country. And then again, I was thinking, well, maybe I would teach math in, like a Canadian high school or something. I wanted to move to Vancouver.
Why was it your dream to move? Is it because Iran, there weren't as much jobs, the economy was hard? Was it because you were a woman? What were some of the things that made you go, okay, I want to get into the Western world?
I would say mostly it was the time that I lived there and I would go to college. As a young woman, it was a lot of oppression against young people in that country, especially women. So I didn't have freedom to literally go on in public the way I'm sitting right now with you. I had to cover my hair, wear a scarf. I couldn't wear makeup or nail polish in public. So all of that was kind of like a driving force for me, that I wanted to move and be in an environment that I can be free and dress up however I want and speak whatever
So you appreciate the freedoms here,
absolutely.
Right? And was it difficult for you to make the move out? Does Iran make it harder for you to get out and to get into a Western country, or is it just as easy as getting your passport?
No, it wasn't that hard from that end from Iran, but moving to U.S., they do a lot of background search and all to make sure, that you you're coming here for the right reason. So
Right.
that took some time.
Well, you obviously came here for the right reasons, right? So, but you didn't make it to Canada. Somehow you ended up in the U.S. What brought you to the U.S. instead of Canada?
Well, when I applied to get my visa to go to Canada, I remember vividly that the interviewer at the embassy told me, I'm not going to issue a visa for you because I know if you move to Canada, you're never going to go back to your country, which was true.
I love it.
Yeah, so I ended up staying another 3 years after graduated from college and working in an art gallery for my uncle, because I was also loved art and handcraft stuff. And then after that, I just met my son's dad, and we fell in love. And literally after 3 years of doing a long distance relationship, eventually I moved to U.S. to marry him.
Wonderful. You know, I have a question though. So art, math, and science. No, normally those three don't go together. Like I don't know anything about math. I can't really add or subtract.
Right.
Science, forget it. I don't know any of that either. I tried to skip that in college. But the arts usually, so you've got a nice base, like you love the arts, but you also have the mind for both. Did you grow up in an environment that was like that, where both of your parents very not only art but science oriented, or were you kind of the newbie that discovered that you loved both of those?
Interesting question. I would say like I got the mixture of both, because my mom was very passionate about art and she would do painting, so she encouraged me from age 9 to get to painting.
That's awesome.
And then from my dad's side, like he is a surgeon, so he was probably, I would say, more into logical mind and science and everything, so I was fascinated with both worlds.
That's awesome. So did you know English? Are you taught English over there? Some of these questions, some of you guys are going to go, Ted, come on, you should do your research. But I find it fascinating. Are you taught English from a very early age over there, or did you have to learn it in order to come to the country?
I started learning from age 11 because I was just fascinated by the culture and the language, and like I said, I had this intention from early age that, you know, one day I would move out of the country. So I studied English for a few years, but no matter how much I studied there, when I moved here 14 years ago, I remember that first time when I went to a restaurant to order my food, I was just panicking out because I lost my self-confidence, and I thought, like, you know, people are not going to understand my accent, and it was tough for the first few years.
Did you find that people were, what city did you move to? Did you move to Orlando?
No, I moved to Hermitage in Pennsylvania, a very small town.
That's a small town. So did you
Yes.
find that people were embracing of you? Did you at that point go, oh my God, I've got to go back to Iran, or maybe I should have hit Canada up?
I would say, like, people up north in a small town, they were really nice people, but I think like I was totally a different person, you know, in that culture.
Sure.
And it was, I would say it was hard both for me and probably for them to accept me. And it took a while until I realized that, you know what, these people are nice, and, you know, it's going to take time for them to learn about who I am.
And so what did you do when you got here? What was your, because again, we want to get to embracing your femininity, but what did you do when you got here to the States?
Well, I got married, so I didn't have to immediately work or anything, and I was kind of all over the place. At some point, I thought, like, maybe I go study interior design because I love art. And I remember I would watch so many HGTV channels that I was fascinated. Yeah. But then after that, you know, it was around the time that I was pregnant with my son, so it was a limit of how much I could dedicate time to my professional life. And then I decided that I chose real estate because of the flexible hours and
Sure.
everything. So I did that for a few years. And I never got even to self-development until I ended up the marriage, and I realized that I needed to help myself and work on myself, and that's how I got introduced.
So that was the catalyst.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the catalyst, because it's interesting because you've had such a unique career and so many different backgrounds and interests that you ended up being in coaching and self-development. So did you take that on? Did you begin small? Did you take courses? Did you begin to read books? What was your methodology to begin to get into that?
I would say it was by quite accident. It was my son's dad that one day he found me. We are very good friends up to this point, and he find out that I'm very miserable from the separation and everything that was going on, and he handed me a group of CDs from Tony Robbins, and I never heard about the guy, but he said you need to listen to these, and the name of the CDs were Ultimate Relationship Program. So I started listening with it with doubt first, but then I was fascinated with the content, and I said that, you know what, I need to go to his live event and hear this guy in person.
So you did. So you went to the live event. Did you? What was it like having speaking? You being newer to the country, and then going to one of Tony's events. Was it just life changing? Did you walk the fire? Give us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, it was actually my first time kind of on my own making a trip from Ohio to Fort Lauderdale, where he had the event called Unleash the Power Within, and I did a fire walk.
Oh, you did the fire walk. How was, so I've not been to a Tony event.
Mm-hmm.
I've not been to a Tony Robbins event. But how was that? How do you mentally prep for that? Is it just because you're so into it and so excited and so motivated that you don't feel anything? I'd be afraid I would cry the entire time I'm walking across the fire.
Right. I would say it's the ticket is the mindset, and he prepares us in a room before we do the fire walk to mentally think that we are taking the walk inside the seminar room over and over with a help of an accountability partner. So by the time you're actually close to the line, mentally you're ready for that experience. But people that kind of lose their balance, I hear that, like, they try to take selfie, for example.
Who would take it? I want to run across that fire. I'm so afraid I'd be the one person that needs I had third-degree burns and I need help.
Right.
So what did you? But a lot of people go. So many people go to Tony Robbins and other coaching and motivational speakers, inspirational people, but they don't take it to the next level where they begin a career. They want to make it their life's mission. What was it about that you said, all right, because you had your own personal stuff, that's why you got to Tony, but then to take it to the next level, what was it that was going through your mind, and what did you do in order to do that? Most people don't go to Tony and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm a coach.
Right.
You have to build on it, but what was your next couple of steps that you did?
Well, when I was at the first event, I was fascinated by the environment because it was very different than any other experience I had outside of that seminar room. I literally felt like here's an environment that people can emotionally be very intimate with each other and share their greatest fears and their goals and desires. So I was fascinated and wanted to work in such an environment, and that's why I started pursuing, to see what it takes to work there. And before you know, the first year I was in 17 different live seminars of Tony Robbins.
No way.
Yeah.
So you really immersed yourself in the culture. Was it difficult? Was it culturally different because you come from Iran? Are you an open country? Like when your relationships, I guess is what I'm asking. Was it difficult for you to become embracing, which is what Tony wants you to do? He wants you to open it all up, let it all go, bleed it out, cry it out, whatever you have to do. Was that difficult for you because you came from a different culture?
I would say really not for me, because when I was in that experience, I literally met people from all around the world, and you realize that like we are all more similar with each other than different.
That's correct.
And maybe like when I started eventually apply for a job, I think like it could be like some people were concerned about my accent when I get excited, if I talk too fast and people can understand me. But besides that initial barrier, it's really all about like a human connection. It doesn't matter which part of the world you came from.
And then why embracing your femininity? How did that develop?
It's a concept that took a few years, I would say about 8 years, until I come and land on this concept. Because at first when I started working for Tony as a result coach, I was like a general surgeon trying to fix everyone with every challenge that they have. But this is a concept that over time came to me, and literally I would say it was a few months ago that I was sitting at my office thinking to myself that if I have to choose one thing that I say I'm good at, what would it be, like that the world would need me for, that I said like it's my uniqueness and I can bring this gift for others. And I realized that, you know what, no matter the challenges that I faced back in my hometown in Iran with that oppression and not being able to dress the way I want back then, or when I moved to US, and it had its own sets of challenges, you know, from cultural shock to being in a abusive relationship and all. So my life was not always easy, but I felt like there was something inside me that kept me going throughout these firewalks of my life. And, you know, like people, when they see me from the outside, they say, oh, you look vibrant, you know, you have such a positive energy about you. But it is something that I consciously have to generate it every day from inside out. And it goes back to the essence of femininity. For me, it's important, like every day I wake up to take care of my look, whether it's my hair, makeup, or like decide what I want to wear, or wearing a nail polish. These are kind of like my principles, because it would help me to feel better about myself. And as a woman, I feel like I'm more feminine and more beautiful, and it's not for the purpose of impressing someone, it's just for myself I do this. So the reason that I created this concept is because I have been very involved in the community for the past year, doing volunteer work and being part of women empowerment groups, of different groups. And I'm witnessing that we have so many amazing women that have gone through a lot in their life. They are right now leaders in the community, but sometimes these women, because they have to give so much, they have to compete so much in a masculine dominated environment, they forget about the essence of who they are.
Sure.
You know, like when I talk about, like in some groups, that this is what I teach, like I help women embrace their femininity, with some groups or some people, I get this resistance that, like, as if femininity is a forbidden word, that like it's not good enough to talk about.
I think everybody has their own definition, women included, of what femininity means to them. Real quick, Maxine was saying she's doing her nails right now, and she says she knows exactly what you're saying. Carmen says amen, and Scott Davidson earlier said, what accent? I want to give you some feedback, so people are sending you lots of love. But I think that's the definition. So everybody's got a definition, but the thing is that you have, I believe, and it doesn't matter what the topic is, let's take femininity, of course, you have to figure out what that is going to give you that inner strength, that is going to make you feel better. And maybe it's not your nails, maybe it's your hair. Maybe it's that you want to, there's something else that makes you feel stronger and better. But you have to be able to identify it, and I think most people, will speak about women for example, they forget how to do that because they're busy either taking care of other people, they're working hard, they're doing everything else, and they are last in their own
Absolutely.
world.
And yes, like you said, femininity can be very different for everyone. I remember one time I had an event, and when I went around the room and I asked ladies, like, what would it look for you to be feminine? And you know, the answers was different. For some women, like you said, it wasn't about like taking care of their look a way we expect a feminine woman look like. But they said, hey, when we put our yoga pants on, or we wear like our running shoes, and like we go and do some physical exercise, we feel empowered from inside out. So that's, again, you know, goes back to taking care of yourself. So the more you recharge yourself, you can give back to other people also. And then another thing is also, it's about being authentic to who you are, because sometimes in my teaching, I come across people that, you know, maybe they raise up as a tomboy, and this, like for women, and this is their preference, you know, not everybody wants to wear a dress or a skirt.
Correct.
And sometimes people, you know, like they're more, you know, not everybody is straight. Some people have desire for same-sex relationship. So even in those situations, it's about being authentic to who you are and not worrying about what the rest of the world thinks about you.
Which is hard to do, Sahar. Like, even, I don't care who you're talking to, it's sometimes people are very leery of doing that because they've been burned before, nobody has supported them, or they don't feel like, their perception is that they're not going to be supported if they're their authentic self. So do you teach them, do you help them find ways to be that authentic person in your coaching and your your efforts with
I,
women?
I do, because authenticity ultimately is our ultimate power, and it is very attractive when we have the confidence to be ourselves. It doesn't matter if our hair is messy or not, or like what we wear. It's the energy that we exude from inside out that is attractive. And yes, we face rejection, we would face disagreement, but I always believe that if we stay true to who we are, the right people always will show up to support us for who we are, whether they are friends or family member or colleagues or followers. And so I would say authenticity is one.
Well, that's true, because like as a guy,
Mm-hmm.
there are some women that I think they look the part of being completely put together, but their persona, when you talk to them or meet with them or you watch them slouch or you see how they speak, super mousy, for lack of a better word, but doesn't feel confident. That's not attractive to me. So physically they can look the part, but when you are your body language and your voice and the way you carry yourself has so much to do with it. So there are, again, women who have the Louis Vuittons on, or what else do women wear? The red shoes, I can't think of it, Christian Louboutins. And they have their hair done, and their nails and their makeup are just pristine. But they don't have the confidence. And so that can be difficult to be around, and you can sense that because they're not being their authentic self, and that negativity or whatever, that self-worth issue that they're having comes out. No matter how much you dress it up, there's still a self-worth issue or challenges that they're having.
Absolutely, because we try to, let's say, please or impress other people most of the time, and we think like we have to put a certain persona out there to achieve, to be accepted. But like you said, people always sense that energy, if it's congruent or not. And if we put those criteria aside, not that it's not good, to have quality lifestyle and everything. It's absolutely nice, but it's about being comfortable with who we are at our core and improve ourselves, but not to impress other people, but just for our own sake. And one of the books I recently am reading actually is called Judgment Detox by Gabby Bernstein, and it talks about what we just shared here, that oftentimes we are so harsh on judging other people, but most importantly judging ourselves. So if we get to the point that we can stop judging ourselves constantly and just embrace who we are, I think that we give ourselves and others a beautiful gift.
I agree. Now, what do you think about, one of the things I hear a lot about from women is that women are super harsh on themselves. There's this whole thing that goes on up here where we want to empower each other, empower women, but a lot of times women don't feel truly empowered, and there's a lot of negativity that goes on. Do you talk about that? Do you give them tools on how to handle that? I mean, I hear that almost every day, so I'm not picking on women. Guys just punch each other in the arm and probably say something nasty to each other, and then we're over it and we have a beer. I feel like women tend to hold on to that. And I don't know I'm sure it's the difference of men and women, but I'm sure you deal with that, because I hear it from women all the time. They don't feel supported by other women.
Yeah, it's interesting point, and it's true. It kind of reminds me of like when I watch movies from World War II, for example, right? Like you see a soldier from United States goes to Europe, and these two people fight with each other, and they don't even know each other. They really, truly don't have a reason to fight, but they were told that they have to fight. And I always think that in another life, these two guys could have been brothers, because again, it goes back to we have more in common with each other, and we are more similar than different. So imagine the same thing in today for women. Maybe because of our I don't know, expectations or whatever the case is, the filters that we put for judgment, we think that we have to constantly compete with each other. But in reality, if we put that aside, in another life, in another circumstances, we could have been sisters. Right. And if we bring that mentality to the table, there is no lack, there is always enough for everybody, at the table.
I agree. All right, so you see how fast it goes? So we're going to share all of Sahar's contact information, how you can reach her. Of course, you can go to thetedshow.com and look it up, or on the page. But I want you to share some last minute words of wisdom with them, because it's been your conversation is so important. I think it's so authentic. You know, a lot of times I meet someone, I think we met for 5 minutes,
Yes.
maybe. But you get the impression, mainly because she is 100% authentic. This is what you see. It's palpable. You know that she's real, and she's speaking from her heart. So I'm immediately go, okay, absolutely, you have to come on the show and talk. But there are some things that some people probably could hear, some words of wisdom that you could share with them, and we'll make sure we'll get all the contact information at the end. But what would you like to share with them?
I would say just stay true to who you are. You know, if you're a woman and if you want to be feminine, doesn't matter which environment you work, just, you know, wear that dress, wear that skirt, feel beautiful and sexy about yourself, regardless of what other people judge you, you know, and you can still be powerful even when you are ultimately feminine, or, you know, just what we it's just staying true with who you are and not be afraid of expressing your emotions, your thoughts, and believing that the right people will always show up to support you for who you are.
And as a guy, again, authenticity is sexy, ladies. Men too, but I just think you put your real self out there, and this is, I know it's a risk, I know it's scary, but the vulnerability and authenticity, I believe personally, will get you so much further in life and make you so much more happy if you'll just take a risk. Are you going to get hurt? Absolutely, but you're getting hurt no matter what. So you're getting hurt because you're in this cocoon and you're not letting anybody know who you really are. So let it go. It doesn't have to be immediately. Like, don't come to lunch with me and then all of a sudden tell me all about your authenticity and vulnerability. Of course you can do that if you want. But it's steps at a time. Take baby steps. Reach out to Sahar. And again, we'll give you all her contact information. You were absolutely amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Isn't she awesome?
Thank you, guys.
So we'll go back
Love
through,
y'all.
and I love you guys too. We'll go back through and we'll respond to all your comments. But thank you for coming on, and thank you for showing Sahar all the love. We got lots and lots of love going on here. So have a great weekend. Be back with a crazy week next week. Can't wait. But have fun this weekend. I hope it gets some sunny, because I need some sun instead of this rain stuff. So we love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.